Hi, beautiful. Welcome to Applied ACIM. We are exploring the concepts of A Course in Miracles and how they apply to us in our day-to-day life. I've been reading in chapter 13, The Guiltless World, and I'm really just blown away. I've read this before, but as I read it again, it's like I'm reading it all over again for the first time. I'm just blown away by the concepts in here and how crystal clear and obvious they are, and yet why is it so hard to remember and keep applying it? Chapter 13, in the section Release from Guilt, in paragraph 6, it says, as long as you believe that guilt is justified in any way, in anyone, whatever he may do, you will not look within, where you would always find atonement. The end of guilt will never come as long as you believe there is a reason for it. For you must learn that guilt is always totally insane and has no reason. The Holy Spirit seeks not to dispel reality. If guilt were real, atonement would not be. The purpose of atonement is to dispel illusions, not to establish them as real and then forgive them. Wow. There are times where I'm thinking through a human lens, maybe some ego mixed in, and I'm thinking, oh, we forgive these horrible sinners. We forgive them even though they're guilty. And what A Course in Miracles is teaching me is guilt's not real. Guilt's make-believe. Atonement is reality. At-one-ment is reality. We are all creating each other. We are one holistic system. When a child is born into this world, into Earth School, their character is created by two things. One, their nature, their DNA, their programming. And the other thing their character is made of, and this includes you and I, our character is made of our DNA and our nature and our nurture, which is how we're treated, how we're raised, the experiences we have. So between nature and nurture, where's the guilt? If you have the exact same DNA and upbringing as another person, you will do exactly what they do. Where's the judgment in that? We're judging their DNA sequencing, or we're judging them based on how their parents raised them. In both cases, it would make more sense to see them as innocent and, if anything, judge the system. Judge their gene sequencing? I mean, it's not logical. It isn't even logical. Judgment doesn't even make any sense when you break it down. Can you apply that to yourself? Are you guilty because your DNA is bad? That doesn't even make any sense. If your DNA was bad, which I'm definitely not saying it is, but even if your DNA was bad, how is that your fault? You'd be the victim. You'd be the innocent victim of bad DNA. I think we're way more terrified of being innocent than we are of being guilty. And here's why. If we're guilty and we're bad, and other people are guilty and bad, then we can fix this mess. Because we can just stop being bad. But if we're already inherently good and doing our best and innocent, and life is still confusing and hard and difficult, then we have to learn to accept it and love it for what it is and move forward. And the ego hates that idea. Because the ego condemns. That's all the ego does. It condemns and judges. So if we get to the point where we're like, I'm not going to judge, I'm just going to accept the human condition. I'm going to accept that we learn through cause and effect. I'm going to accept that we learn through trial and error, and it's okay. And even the most vile sinner, someone who the ego has condemned as the most vile sinner, their DNA is terrible, and their upbringing was terrible, and they're terrible. Their character is terrible. I hate their character. But if we were able to let go of that delusion and recognize that, I don't know if their DNA is terrible or not. It is what it is. If I condemn their DNA, I'm condemning God. That person didn't create themselves. And I don't know. I don't know if they were supposed to have these difficult experiences or not. I'm guessing that we didn't come to Earth School to just float on a cloud and eat chocolate and watch Star Trek, even though that's all I want to do. That's all my ego wants to do. Maybe that's even all my human self wants to do. I do think there's a distinction between the human and the ego. The human is a beautiful little creature. Like all beautiful creatures. It just wants to survive and thrive. The ego, however, wants to get ahead at others' expense. It wants to be better than, and if it doesn't feel like it can be better than, then it will go into victim mode and it will be worse than, because the ego just cannot exist in equality. What is the function of ego? To be honest, I don't know. I assume if we're all perfect, whole, and complete, then we needed some type of program to make us believe that we suck so that we could experience the opposite of what we are and thereby know what we are through the opposition to what we are. Now, maybe that doesn't make sense, but think of it like this. If you're a fish in water and all you know is water, if you're a perfect being and all you know is perfection, you wouldn't even know. Like a fish doesn't know what water is because it doesn't know what water's not. Perfection probably, my guess is, doesn't even know what perfection is because it doesn't know what perfection is not. And if you are perfect, you would have to essentially create an illusion of not being perfect so that you could experience non-perfection and thereby understand what you truly are. Perfect, whole, and complete through contrast. Because unfortunately, I mean, I know this is dualistic, but we are experiencing on Earth School duality. And I believe we're experiencing duality so that we can understand unity and oneness. As long as you believe that guilt is justified in any way, you will not look within, where you would always find atonement. When he has looked within and seen the radiance there, he will remember how much his Father loves him. And it will seem incredible that he ever thought the Father loved him not and looked upon him as condemned. The moment you realize guilt is insane, wholly unjustified, and wholly without reason, you will not fear to look upon the atonement and accept it wholly. I hope some of this made sense. I don't know that I expressed what was in my heart perfectly. Please forgive me for my limitations. I hope you were able to feel and read between the lines of what I was saying. Ask yourself if you are afraid to see yourself as perfect, because once the ego knows the truth, it loses all its power. I love you. Thanks for being here.